Hello.
Hello, guys. Hello, Bishoy. How are you guys
Mm,
doing?
I'll be
Good.
sure.
How are you?
Good, good. It
Thank
has
you for
been
having me.
like 4 months since we met, I think,
Yes,
4 or 5 months. Yeah,
just about, yeah.
yeah, yeah. That was an amazing visit for this lovely country and city.
Yes.
Yeah, rainy city.
Really, see, you have heard about the news. There was heavy rains during the last days across the whole UAE and some parts of Oman.
Yeah. We were lucky that it wasn't as bad when we were there. It didn't affect
Yeah,
us
Yeah,
as much. But
yeah, yeah.
seriously, I really hope everybody's okay.
Yeah, I think some people some friends are living there told me the one we had when we were there, it was a human-made rains, but this one it's a natural one. Thank God we were not there.
Wow.
that's good.
That's yeah, yeah. Interesting. So, Annie, thank you, Bishoy, for accepting our invite, being with us in this Go Big Series of Cogya. We're delighted to have you as a digital transformation expert during the last 20 years, providing this kind of amazing and now it's much more required, even after the hype of the AI and most of the companies now trying to automate part of their business and operations. Thank you very much for being with us. Please, you have the microphone to introduce you to our audience.
Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure. I'm really looking forward to this. I got excited about it when we discussed it in Dubai when we met in November, and really looking forward to it. And I hope that I can shed some light on, like you said, the digital transformation. It started as as a catchword. Now it's mainstream, and obviously now we're adding more to it with the advent of the AI and all these new technologies that are coming along, and it creates excitement and fear for in different people for different reasons. So it's always good to discuss it and try to demystify things a little bit. So like you
Exactly.
said,
And it's going at a very fast pace. So
extremely fast paced
yeah,
because
extreme.
seriously it's going like linear. It's going up.
Yeah. I think
Yeah,
It's
and
going to
you
be
know,
interesting.
like there was a question like few months ago, like, oh, is AI a trend? Like, I don't know, metaverse or just before this kind of thing. That's the personal opinion, but I think we share it's not a trend. It's
No,
actually here,
yeah,
really here, and we'll have to deal with it. And as you were saying, be sure it's new, and what's kind of new scares some people, like on the learning curve and all that, but it will be part of everything, and we'll have to deal with it. So I think it's for some people to catch up the pace and be there, but you'll talk. We'll have this time together to go in deeply in that.
absolutely.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. For that, starting with the very crucial challenge, even I have seen during my corporate experience, there was an always conflict between management or even the team members on very important question: Are we ready for digital transformation? Or what is the type of readiness criteria or factors that any kind of company or business or even individual, if he found in his business or whatever thing he's doing, that shows that he is ready to move to this direction? Or no, you have to start? Is it that early? Is it we have to have some criteria to be ready? Or what do you think?
For sure. I mean, everybody wants to. I mean, I don't like to generalize, but when you say when it comes to technology or adoption of technology, and people want to embark on the latest things, and they want to have the latest tools and gadgets, but doing any type of transformation without having prepared for it is a recipe for disaster. So being able to master your digital readiness has some steps and 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 indicators as well, because what happens is you say, okay, fine, um, let's start with such a project and let's see if it works. So whether it's a project to move some of your processes to the cloud. Let's say instead of having in-house or in-prem servers, for example, and then you say we're going in, to the cloud. Did you do a study? Did you check within your organization? Is this the roadmap that or the strategy that the upper management has, or the vision for the long term, or is it just because we heard about excuse me, we heard about cloud and migration to the cloud that let's jump on it? There is no there hasn't been studies that were done. And also, is your team ready? Are your employees understanding the complexity or what comes with such a transformation? So digital transformation can have multiple aspects, whether it's your documentation, your processes, your hosting, your servers, your applications, all of that. It's not one magic formula or one silver bullet to say, okay, we're just going to do digital transformation. All right, let's jump on it. It takes a systematic approach, and understanding the technology impact, understanding if there is a return on investment, understanding if there is a need for what you're actually trying to transform or not. Maybe not now, but maybe in 3 years. So let's build the roadmap for it.
I agree with when you're saying like the readiness. I had this experience with a major like company. They were like like the trends of not a little bit less now, but like a few years ago, the trends of like acquisition of new startups with their new technology, and you're a big company that you think like will accelerate the pace. And I had to work on a company, and they were looking to do an acquisition of few startups. But at the end, when we came on, we were looking at the roadmap, and on their own technology were not ready to do an acquisition for a startup, because they didn't even have like APIs and able to be connected. So all their internal roadmap has to be modified to be able to be ready to do an acquisition of a startup, which was built on new technologies. All the APIs were there open, but there were not. So they were willing to, but they were not ready to do these kind of things. So it's exactly what you were saying, Bishoy. So that's a typical example.
Exactly. It's just not something that you're gonna say, let's jump on it and then we'll see where the chips may fall and we'll see how we're gonna deal with it. It doesn't work like that, because you're gonna hurt yourself on the long run, and you can even be out of business due to that. Because at the end of the day, it is a disruptive technology, because you're changing the way that you're doing things.
Yeah, and also the humans. Just the talk we had that the last time was our friend Lisa. That's on the more personal side, but as you were saying, there's also human change management.
Yes.
Not everybody is ready. So this dimension is just not the technology; it's also the human part on the readiness of the management. And there's also a change management to take in
Exactly.
place and to use. Yeah.
For adding to this as well, Bishoy, I've seen this in one of the companies I was working for. Sometimes the resistance is the fear of failure, because the technology has a cost, as you said. And the cost of the change, we don't know what is the cost of changing from a typical or traditional way of working versus a technological way of working. That that was the lesson learned for the organization, because they were not getting that risk, and they started to transform one of our project to test on this new technology. And there was like 50% of the data was affected and was lost due to this change without any kind of calculations. But this could be if a factor that we consider on how you see or startups can or businesses can identify the risk factors or the cost of the change in that stage.
One of the things that you have to take into consideration, or one of the things that needs to be accounted for, is data readiness.
Mhm.
Making sure that your data is ready or available or clean enough, that, because don't forget, AI in the digital transformation or AI as it's being used, it consumes and it's data driven. So basically, if your data is not up to par, don't expect the results that you're
Yeah.
getting out are going to be any good for you. So
And you
if
need a lot
you,
of data. Yeah.
pardon me,
And you need a lot of data to be
you need a lot
relevant.
of data, you need a lot of historicals, you need to be able to have some sort of a data repository, or like, in the terms of Microsoft, data lake. And from
Like,
there you have, you're able to perform analysis on the data that you have. So for example, you're doing inventory management, but if you don't have good historical data, forget it. If your ERP system is not up to par in the sense that the descriptions, or you're putting information, you don't have standards in putting in the information. For example, one person goes in and describes their product as, a black T-shirt, for example, BLK for black, and another person will put black as in BLAK. But so trying to get the data, or trying to get a pattern, or discern something out of that, good luck with it, because you won't be able to have something um, manageable or something meaningful to be able to build your models on it. How
yeah.
are you going to teach AI to say, okay, fine, you know what? If black BLK is in short order, then start initiating the process of order processing, and creating the PO, for example, if we're talking about vendor management and inventory management. So is it gonna issue like the PO for BLK and BLAK, or what is it that it's looking for?
Yeah, and that's the
It's just a very simple example on a very
on the parsing the
non-technical.
data and all that. Yeah, and that's for big company. But if we always look at also, if we take the same topic and apply it to startups, the startups that have another challenge is the lack of data.
That's
So
true.
they have a different kind of readiness. It's not handling the parsing or the numbers of data. Yeah, it's the numbers of data they have. At Cogya, we receive a lot of applications now. Everyone has AI in their pitch decks, or in their ID, but their challenge is, yeah, but if you don't have enough data, your AI will, you need that time. So it's two different challenge, but for the same for the same
Exactly.
same
That
topic.
exactly. You're coming in from two ends: a company that's been in
Yeah.
business for 100 years, but the data is useless, or a company that's starting, a year ago, but it doesn't have enough data.
Yeah, that's exactly that. And regarding, because we were talking about that, you started saying, and then Mohammed started saying it also on the IT, how now companies are more and more looking at their expenses, of course. And how do you think, like, on the IT part, the investments, how can this drive the business, an expansion of the business, or enhance the customer experience? Does it worth it? How do you calculate it? And also, how can AI be in the center of that? Because we know that AI helps in the process, automate stuff. So maybe putting like the investment, how do you see the scene of the investments in that part?
Again, this becomes to the vision of the company and how they want to, proceed with the roadmap. Like, first and foremost, you have to have an idea of what your plans are. So you put your plans and you adjust. That's not a problem. Or I mean, because you have multiple, excuse me, variables that come into play. So it could be a recession, it could be emergencies, things like that. That's normal. So you put your roadmap, sorry, in place. Then you say, okay, fine. Now let's take part of the business. That's where we want to invest in. So are we investing in an ERP system? Are we investing in something that relates to customer data? So we would know, for example, their buying patterns. So for an e-commerce company, if I want to build a good viable business for myself, then I need to understand what drives these customers to come and buy from me versus somebody else. If I don't have the data, or I don't have the structure in place to be able to analyze how my customers interact on my website, for example, or on my platform, then I won't be able to say I need to invest in here, or I need to push this product, or I need to. So it's not a one type solution that fits everything. So your investment has to come in the sense that let's try a pilot project. So that pilot project, for example, is a chatbot that sits on the website and is able to respond to the client needs. Or you take the analysis that come out of whether abandoned cart, and then you start building a model. You use, for example, Power BI to start seeing trends, and you use AI to analyze these trends and try and give you a pattern, for example. But all of this requires also the data. So if the data is not there, or the traffic is not coming to your website, then maybe you have other issues that you need to be able to to get that data. So you need to address these issues before you start. So it's sort of like the chicken or the egg. You need to be able, again, it comes back to having a
Research.
roadmap.
Yeah, and doing good research. Yeah.
Put in place a strategy, and then work that strategy and adjust your tactics as you're going along.
Interesting. I think in having the data or don't having the data, it definitely affects the digital transformation direction or strategy of a company or a business. But there can be another factor as well, that in some cases and some mindsets consider that the digital transformation is a very complex thing, and it is related to a very huge change of technology to implement in our companies. However, it could be just a very simple thing to start with, following the agile concept and methodology, and starting with a flexible way of thinking and start moving on. And I remember one of my jobs long time ago was automating some of the tasks of the team, and we started with some Excel formulas. That's very simple, without just
Yep.
buying an expensive system. How do you see this kind of digital transformation mindset to just simplify it and make it in a flexible way that can the transformation and the change is easier than people expecting?
By implementing it, piece by piece, or implementing it in again, you can look at it in a different way, because we go back to the point of the fear of change and change management and everything. If you're a traditional company that does, I don't know, textile, for example, they sew pieces of material together, and then they come up with a t-shirt, or they automated some of the. This is a very traditional type of company. So you can expect that the majority of your employees are, not at the highest tech level. So obviously, anything that can be perceived as a job loss for them will be, very, very hard change, or it will require a lot of communication with them.
Mhm.
On the opposite end, if you go to a company like Google, or Microsoft, where they're at the cusp of technology, so implementing some changes will be easier. Having said that, it's all about having a communication plan and giving it, depending on the industry, either small doses, like you said. So, and a small change in the Excel formula, you're automating it, and then with macros you put in the data, and then it comes out, so you can have a pattern. Or if you have a company that's technology based, then you can implement a little bit more heavy, or like heavier changes if you want. It varies on the company and the industry.
Yeah, but we can. I think on one thing, on the agile methodology, which is a lot used, and it's a word in the startup, I would say, scene. It's more and more used by companies, like doing like step, as you were saying, step by step. It
Yeah.
works. We go through and escalating like that. The thing, like same thing with some clients. I was working with or facing, just implementing something, I would say, like when you're in the industry, like a CRM or whatever for the sales, at the beginning, even if the company is not up to date to the technology, this is a huge thing. So
It
even
is.
like the things they will implement on their CRM, it's going to be step by step, like using the pipeline and then parsing the data and all that. But it's
Explaining what the benefit.
yeah, what's the benefit? Because at the beginning, I always had this. Oh, they're scared because you're putting a tool that will like. They were not scared about their job, but like spying them. No, it's not spying. It's to make you gain some time on your work and not lose some deals because you're a you're a salesperson. So if you mislead like some lead or don't remember to follow up because you have too much, it's a commission you won't have. So it's to make them understand that these kind of tools are here to help them automate and to use
Exactly.
them as their best friend, basically. And this is not immediate. It needs and the best for me, as you were saying, and also on the agile methodology, it's to do it step by step and not putting everything in one place. If you do that, you lose in your digital transformation, I think.
Absolutely, and I agree with you. And that example of the CRM is something that I've been involved in, and implementing a CRM system in a company. The first thing is like that this is additional work. I'm not used to it. Why do I have to carry a tablet with me, or why do I have to enter this, and why do I have to do this after work? But when you explain it to them and you show them the benefit, and exactly like you were saying also, it's the spying. So now you're going to know how many. Yeah, but at the end of the day, your results are going to show, and then your follow-ups are going to show. And if I can help you, the sales manager, if I can help you find, the gaps, or find places where maybe you haven't followed up with that client, it, it helps. It increases your productivity at the end of the day. Does it mean that you have to do maybe a couple of extra steps? 100%. But those steps will save you writing down notes of calling back that client, or
Yeah,
do this. And then where did I put that paper? And where did I put? Now, at least it automates your follow-ups. We implemented a CRM system with the e-commerce where it automated the responses, so it saved on the steps that between the client, signing up, and then the welcome email that the client receives, and then after that a promotion, for example, for being a new client. Once the client abandons the cart, you get another email. So all of this was part of the automation and the CRM, and then the salesperson that was responsible for this would see the flow that the client went through, and it helped increase the closure, as opposed to, okay, that client abandoned the cart and left, we don't know anything about him, and that's it. But now I can follow up. Now I can say, you know what, Mr. Client, I saw that you came in, you liked that product, you put it in the cart, but then you abandoned the cart. What was the issue?
Yeah, and that's where you put AI on the top of that that can do predictive learning curve, predictive answers, response for the customer experience, and also, for example, for the VP sales that can have his predictive sales going with AI that's putting it in on where he has to enhance. That's a lot of time gain that maybe
And
they
it
would not
helps
have.
you in your product development.
Yeah, yeah. Sorry,
Absolutely. And it helps you with your product development and your product selection as well.
yeah,
So
exactly.
if you see that there is a trend, you may not be able to see it, from a regular Excel sheet, but if you have AI analysis in the back, you can start building a trend. And then you can start saying, okay, you know what? T-shirts in extra small blue for women are not a good seller because we've had, stock or overstock or returns or this or that. People don't buy it. Okay, so let's not start creating models for that.
And
Mhm.
often there's a discrepancy of what you think, even if you're inside and you have your like your tool and you're looking at it and you're thinking that okay, maybe, oh look, I assume they prefer the white in size M and I don't know, and for men. But if you really put the data in like AI that's really calculating accurately, you'll see, but no, it's not the white one, it's the black in size L, because and that's where the data and are very relevant, because we all as human, there's a discrepancy on what we think and try to to calculate, it's different really from the data that are talking. And this, the
Exactly.
best thing to put in place is the AI. And talking about that, how do you there's a big topic is like, we, even with Mohammed, and you know it, we like to work global. And now like companies that want to do like their digital transformation, how do you see what would be for you the best practice of outsourcing a team versus internally, where there's some risk? How do you manage that, or give some tips on managing an outsourcing IT team that will help you expand or put that on your roadmap, or put AI or add AI modules and these kind of things, because this can have challenges, or some company can be scared of, but it's, for us, it's very useful, I think, to use that.
Vendor management, or choosing an IT, IT, I mean vendor, at the end of the day, uh, comes with its own challenges and risks. I find that one of the main criterias, or main important things to do at the beginning, is evaluating your internal resources, measuring the skills or the lack of skills thereof from what needs to be done. Based on your plan, you'll be able to see, okay, if I need to develop a certain AI solution, for example, you're a healthcare provider, for example, and you want to implement an analysis for digital imagery. But are you going to develop this in-house, the
Hmm.
analysis? Do you have the capability? Or are we outsourcing? And what can be the collaboration between the two? So first and foremost, in the vendor selection, is ensuring that whoever you're going with, they have that type of experience. So it's not a company that will, promise something and then not deliver it, or we have an adjacent, for example, experience in such a field. I want somebody who is able to help me do the result that I want. So I'm not in it to, for trial and error. That's one thing. There's a lot of ethical and regulatory, considerations to take into this. Where am I developing that system? Is it, if I'm a US client, for example, and now am I looking at, developers or companies in certain countries that, the US is not allowing it, then forget it. I won't be able to reach that market. Uh, what happens to the data? With all the laws on privacy that are happening in Europe and US and Canada, where does the data reside? Who has intellectual property of the code that's being developed? In choosing a vendor, it also is very important to think of of that vendor, especially if you don't have the capacity to build it internally. Think of that vendor as, as a partner. So maybe you can work something out in the sense that we can develop this together and then both benefit from it. So it's not a one-off, or it's not just buying a solution, but I'm developing this, you're benefiting, and I'm benefiting. So this can be also a way of mitigating the risk a little bit. And the vendor at the same time has a big interest in ensuring that this solution is viable. Also, one important thing is, will that vendor have the capacity to address change management and training, for the
Yeah, that's
employees
another.
internally? So
That's the thing. But yeah, but
exactly. Or are they just good at skills in developing the code and developing the solution, and then, what, here,
Hmm.
use it, but we're not able to help you, or we're not able to train you? And would that vendor be available, or would that vendor still be in existence 5 years down the line? What is their long-term vision? Are they, yes, you cannot predict the future, but I mean, you can have your due diligence as well, and you do your part in trying to understand that.
Yeah, it's yeah, the vendors are, you're right. I think that's a good thing you were raising. Are they able to train you on what they're doing, or they're just IT focused? But do you because sometimes the company they want to outsource, they outsource like I don't know, a tech team, and they want more from this outsourcing company, like training and all that, but it's not their core. It's maybe internally that they have to do that. So they as you were saying, assessing an internal team. So who could be the good people, the good guy or woman, whatever, inside the team who will be able to train after, because or the
Exactly.
outsourcing team can do it also. That's a very important point to raise, because sometimes that's where also there's discrepancy. Okay, we gave that to an outsourcing company, but we're asking too too much on it, on the stuff. So that's very
Yeah, I think having the mix between both could solve and resolve a lot of challenges. Even outsourcing part of the job and have the other with the remaining part in-house, just to secure the intellectual property part and avoid outsourcing the whole job for someone else, or even from inside factor, if we don't have the capacity to make the job done, we might have the help from external people or third parties. But making this combination is crucial because at the end, as if you're managing two big teams at the same time, it's not only your internal team and as well the third party or the vendor in that case. I tried it
And that's
sometimes,
very
sometimes it works, sometimes not.
100%. I mean, there is no, like, again, there's no magic solution. It all depends on the complexity of your project. It depends on how much you're willing to invest in it. But again, it comes back to having a plan and doing your evaluations right. And you know what? Making sure that you don't turn a blind eye to the signs that you may be getting internally from within your teams. So if they're trying to raise red flags, look at the red flags. Try and understand why people are hesitant, why people are saying, that might not be the best solution, or why are we doing this?
True, very true. I think even having this kind of mindset to make this digital transformation in a very flexible way. Another very important factor is the data itself. As we said, the data is crucial for this kind of digital transformation, even the AI. But
Yeah.
taking some decision related to the data, that takes us to a very important factor because sometimes organizations already have data, but they don't utilize and don't use. And that's the worst thing can happen. You have the data, you have the capabilities, but you don't use it. You don't even utilize to get like 10% benefit out of this data. How do you see this and how do you advise organizations or even individuals and startups to utilize whatever data they have?
it's it's not an easy solution because, again, it comes back to how long you've had the data for and how attached you are to the data. Some people think, the data, I cannot, I have to have that data. But sometimes it's not a bad thing to say, okay, you know what, let's stop at a certain date, have historical data that's accessible if we need it, and let's start, from moving forward from now on with different data sets, or putting in place, you know a newer or more updated system, or more, clearer data sets, like I said. So I was involved in an ERP implementation project where getting all the data, all the old data you know from the repositories where they were, and putting it into the new system would have created havoc with the company. First of all, the data is not as you expected because you've been collecting that data for the past 30 years. So your systems or your ideas were not the same, or what you were asking from the data is not the same. So having a data audit, that's crucial to understand how your data is structured, what you want with it.
and
Being
also
able,
where are they? Because sometimes they're all spread it, even on paper. If you take a
100%.
company, yeah, Could we forget it?
100%. And again, like I said, it's all about how that data was entered in the system. Were people, making sure that their data is clean, spelled properly? Did you have checks and balances in place to say, okay, we're going to verify, every now and then we're going to take sample and do an audit on it. Doing for an e-commerce solution, for example, putting your data in an ERP without having a PIM, which is product information management system, is not the best solution, because when you're putting in an ERP, you're limited in the fields. You might not be able to enrich that data as much as you want to display it to the client in a attractive way to be able to sell that product. But then taking that data from the ERP, putting it in the PIM, and then going out there, that's a different process. It's a different way of doing it. Some companies are doing it in Excel. You take that data, put it in Excel, fill up all the fields that you need, like the size, the color, the description, the care, and then you push it to the website. But then you have errors, you have products sometimes that are incomplete. So what do? Then when you go to the executives, they're seeing all that money that's being spent, and the project that was supposed to cost $1 million, now because we have to do data cleanup, or we have to add a PIM because we didn't think about it and stop using Excel, or add an extra step, now that project is no longer $1 million. It's going to be 2 or 2.5 million. Well,
And
no,
that's something that happens that everyone, like in this kind of project, they're under, like especially the C levels, or they underestimate, like oh, it's easy, you take this data set and it will work. And a lot of time there's not a battle, but there's a change, an education to understand, no, it's just not to invoice or raise the bill for raising the bill. It's just your data are going to be, it's undervalidated, rated, I would say. But there's always more work, because it's very rare that a fun fact that you were saying on the fields, I had at one client, they had like the field, like for example, they were using a software, so we had to extract the data, as you were saying, and there was like one field where there was, if I remember, it was like the address 1, and then another field which was address 2. And then when we were extracting the data, what did you write on address 2? Oh, don't worry, it's not the address. There was no field for that, but we were putting the date of birth of the clients, because there was no field for that. So we were using the address 2 field to put the date of birth. You cannot invent it, and it was doing, as you were saying, a data audit to understand that. But that's real facts. And then you have to, what do you do in that case? As you were saying, Bishoy, what do you? So
what do you do exactly? How much time do you want to invest in it? Or do you say,
possible,
okay, fine, you know what?
Yeah.
Correct, for example, the data and the customer, but forget about the order history for the client, or, for example, do this and then forget about the others. It becomes hard. Or like you were saying, address 1 and address 2. Some people would put the suite number and then the address all in address 1. And then you would have another person that comes in later, and he would put just the civic address and then the suite number and address 2. So how do you manage that data?
No, I remember one of many projects. Honestly, the address, they were not even adding the address, the just Europe,
Yeah.
North America. Which country?
Because Europe is very small. It's like it's not a huge continent.
No, it's small. It's not.
Yeah. One country, no problem. Sure, yeah.
Like Montreal for you, MTR. It works, no?
Exactly. It's
for this BIM concept, you said, Bishoy, for in this, and Damien as well said, that's an underestimation of how complex, or how should we implement this kind of solutions or digital transformation. Honestly, I see it's an overestimating the value that the small team members are providing in terms of data, because it's at the end, it depends on the junior member in the team how they do add the data to the system, and the senior management, they expect that everything is settled correctly as the dream, or have the strategy, or have the plan, but no one is following up for those small team members. And at the end, we all surprised that the data is no data actually, or even if there is data, it costs the company, as you said, instead of implementing a system $1 million, it's two or two and a half. But
Yep.
how do you see, or can you advise even us, or our audience? Do we need to start implement this, like a process or like a system of somehow to make sure that already the data collected?
You need to do your, follow-ups. You have to have systems in places. It's not something that's gonna come up, haphazardly. Your team in the company that knows the company best, or know the flow of work, they should be involved. I mean, even if you get a consultant to be able to come from the outside, that's not a bad thing. It's a good thing, because they bring in with them, knowledge and expertise. But at the end of the day, it's your people that are there, that are working, that know the system.
Yeah,
Ensure knowledge transfer. Ensure that, when you onboard new employees, that there is a process in place, that, this is how it should be done. It's not how you did it in your previous company, or how you feel like doing it. There's a reason why processes exist. Otherwise, it becomes chaotic, and then fixing all these errors later becomes a costly, and it could be the end of a company, because things were not done the right way.
Yeah,
But
just
if you
kidding.
keep doing things the wrong way, you're gonna end up in trouble as well. So, to answer your question, there is no magic bullet. It's something that needs to be, you know discussed regularly in the company. um, Procedures revised on regular basis, improvements brought in. And, if you need to hire a consultant or hire a company that has expertise in this field, bring them in. Try and implement some of their solutions, or implement all their solutions. All depends on the company, on how bad it is. And then from there, you're able to continue. But if there are no guardrails in place to ensure that whatever solution was implemented is continued to be implemented in the correct way, then you're back at square one.
Yeah, and I think there's maybe the other solution is we have an AI startup ID here. You're right. From the beginning, you put a AI tool that calculates or that gives this process or this field, and maybe a plugin. Just an idea. I didn't say to launch it, but it's always that's gonna be a second answer. And
Yeah.
I know, Bishoy, we already used a lot of examples, and I like what you're when you were explaining or replying. It's we're taking live or real cases we had. But can you give us like what you have in mind, like your best successful case success story you had by doing a digital transformation, and what it bring to the company, like the one that
So
pops
your
up maybe.
voice was cutting there.
What? Sorry, it was Shopee.
Actually, we did work. No, sorry, your voice was cutting there for a second.
Okay.
We worked with a company that did AI activated cameras, that they put it in, like, how municipalities and public transport companies, they have their own garages, and they park the buses, or they park their heavy equipment. So now that company was using, or that transport company was using, hybrid buses for public transport. So these buses, they come in and they get plugged in and charged at the where or at the garage at night. So the camera with the AI sensing chip, it had an algorithm on it, and sort of an app, and it's capable of measuring the temperature of these batteries as they're being charged, at night or after the shift. And if there's obviously you build a tolerance in the temperature of those batteries. So if it exceeds the tolerance, then an alarm gets sent, and the camera is connected to the breaker, so it cuts the breaker to that battery until the issue is investigated. Which, it saves a lot of money on accidents and fires, and batteries that can become
Overheat.
defective because the
Yeah.
charge went higher. So that was a good example of a implementation project.
And just to give, because you're talking about implementing AI and all that, how long did that take? Like, for example, just to uh, in the break that down.
Because don't forget, it's a public or government related, so it takes
It
a
took.
while.
Mm.
People like the idea, but going through the red tape takes a while.
Yeah,
So that takes a long time to be able to. So the project, I believe, at the end of the day, it took almost a year and a half just
I thought
to
it was
get
going to be.
just to
Yes.
get to the proof of concept. That's not
Yeah.
even implementing it
Yeah.
across all the garages that they have. Just show us a study, show us this, show
Yeah.
us
Yeah.
a
I was
concept.
going to say, like, did you use it like as a putting a pocket a proof of concept in place, like agile, like you were talking, like step by step, using one garage. It's exactly what we do, like, and we say in our startups we work with, like one by one, go test this on the market. And you were saying, like in digital transformation, or even in bigger company or government, like governments, government project, we have to use the same the same process to make it successful. And you said it before, that's what you did in this case. Yeah.
Yeah, and also don't forget, you have to, because with government or municipal, they're unionized, the employees. So we have to make sure that they're not worried about their job loss, or you're taking away from. No, we're saving your life, because if that battery explodes and you're not there,
Yeah,
you know you can get hurt trying to put out that fire.
you took it on the emotional way.
Well, I mean, it's a reality that
Yeah.
battery blows up. It's you're not going to be a happy camper.
Yeah, interesting. I think I remember as well one of the projects I was working on. Most of the time, the client does not understand how this digital transformation would impact the business in a positive way, regardless all the challenges and the data and stuff. But when we implemented the solution, it saved for them more than 80% of the cost of the
Yep,
tools, the team members, making, and even the results were much more accurate than the traditional way they were using. But at the end, it's taking the risk even to change and try something different we don't know about or we didn't try before.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. I think we might think about the individuals, or sorry, I mean the changes that happens nowadays. I was in a session about AI like 2 days ago, and the instructor was telling us long time ago this kind of feature was changed. Long time ago it was 6 weeks, but this kind of trend and very fast pace of changing in the AI. How do you see the trends in the digital transformation? And is it related to the AI, or still the AI does not affect the methodology of implementing digital transformation in multiple companies in North America or even other countries and regions?
I guess trying to understand what the future trends, or what new things AI will bring, is like having a crystal ball, because the change is coming in so fast. And
Mhm.
even thinking about it, 2 years ago when you heard of Chat GPT, it's like, what is that? So
Yeah,
not
so
even
bad.
2 years ago, I think it was like less than a year ago.
Last year. It was last year.
Last
It
year,
was March
November, I
20.
guess,
Yeah.
or March, yeah, when they
Yeah.
announced it. I was like, what is that? How does that, like, where do you access it? How is the result? And then seeing the accuracy of that bot, or that open AI, increase as people, as the model learns, and you're getting more and more results. And now Microsoft jumps on that, and Google has Bard, and or whatever it was, and now it's Gemini, and it's the pace is just fascinating. But there are trends. So you have your Elon came up with something called explainable AI, or the XAI, which is basically, it focuses on developing AI systems that can explain back to the human what they did to reach that decision. So
Hmm.
in a human understandable manner, if you want. So they explain what their process was, or what their logic. So it enhances transparency. So this can be used in regulated industries, for example, healthcare, for example, finance. So why did I deny that charge, for example, in finance, or that credit card? Here is what the process was. Or why did I analyze that image of that tumor as malignant versus non-malignant? So it can explain it, and then you can improve on the system, I guess, or you can correct it. Then you have your AI automation and robotics. This is an area where you will find, they call it cobots. So the robots are interacting with each other and interacting with humans. So to have a more efficient process in the manufacturing. You have your natural language processing. So all the stuff that you see, like DAL-E, and I don't remember the other one, where you create images, you create music, you create art.
Journey, yeah, even on
Yeah,
the
Midjourney, thank you.
yeah.
And so that's, you explain what you want to achieve in simple words, and then you see what the results, and then you modify on it and you update. So as more input is put in, the more accurate, or the more it will start understanding.
Yeah, and you're right. We don't have the magic ball to know it, but for sure the pace is huge on AI. Even like we were saying, like 1 year ago, I started like using in our team with Mohammed, like the even on copywriting. And I remember the team that were some teams that were working on, they were so scared, like the copywriters. Oh, I will not have my job will not exist in 6 months and whatever.
Yes.
And now it went so fast, and these people, even the mindset we were saying, the change, now they're just using it. But it went kind of fast with people that were really like, oh, afraid of it and reticent and didn't want to use it. And now it's just like no choice. So they're
Because
just using it.
they realize that if it takes you, like, let's say you ask him to write content, or a blog, or whatever, or a piece on something, and it takes him a day to write it, and he charges, I don't know, $50 an hour, but how is he competitive, or how many can he get out, during a day? But now if he uses AI, I mean, don't cheat, and don't take the claim, or not, at least take the idea or whatever came out of the AI, and then put in your touch on it, and
Yeah,
rework it, and
exactly. Your
ensure
tone
that,
of voice, touch as
ensure the
well.
accuracy. Exactly, ensure the accuracy, ensure that you didn't, the AI didn't grab anything from other sources without giving the source. So no plagiarism. At least if it took you 8 hours to come up with that article, now if it takes you 5, at least you have time to work on something else, and you're still able to put in and do your work as well. So it's not like anything else. When the calculator first came out, the accountants didn't want to use them because they had their little way of doing things, and they, no, the calculator is going to take away my work. But you became more efficient using a calculator. Then when Excel came, all the people that were using a calculator, no, this is going to make us stupid, and we won't be able to do any yeah, but you're creating a formula in Excel. If you don't understand the concept, forget it. You're not, the result is going to be
True.
wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's
That's exact concept of, are we getting these new technologies to complement our value or accelerate our value, or replacing us? No way it won't replace us, but someone is using it will replace us.
It will replace some people, unfortunately. I mean, you know, there are no alternatives, but you need to be able to adapt. And as humans, we're very adaptable. So the people that will get affected the most are the ones who are totally against it or don't want to learn something new. I think.
True.
Yeah, and so
Very
one thing
true.
that not the flag I try to say sometimes, like here we did all I would say our generation here around the table, we did all the hard work, like doing the things manually, thinking of the data, the processes, and digital transformation. So we have this big overview of what is it exactly. So now using AI, we're able to understand the whole picture, versus what the young generation has to be careful. If you skip all that hard work and jump immediately on AI, you don't have this big picture to analyze it and see
True.
it. So that's where I think, I don't know where it will go. I don't have the answer, but just
Magic
a
ball.
flag, be careful. Yeah, we're kind of both for sure. Because when we're talking about Web 4 and using the blockchain with AI that will predict all your data, so it can both, but just the future will tell us where it's going to, yeah, lead.
Exactly, but that technology is out and it's being used at a very fast pace. How are we gonna manage without? Can we reverse it and not use it? I don't think it will happen.
No, no,
It's
no, not sure. No, it's adding the blockchains
so
on it because it went
we have to adapt as humans.
True.
on it,
Very true.
Sorry.
and just yeah, it's the all about all this, and now I was talking about the generations and all that. And what do you think, like
Yeah.
how is it in this AI digital transformation? How is the leadership important, and also getting the team to go and to manage this transformation? Do you think it's important to still have like leaders in that and to push the company, or like AI will do like all these things for them, and then the leadership of the managers just will go down? What's your thought?
Um, that's a that's a good question. I mean, it's you have to have a leadership that has a vision and has a forward thinking, in the sense that this is the plan that we have and these are the technologies that we're gonna implement. But you do have to have the human leadership, especially to answer for ethical questions and regulatory, and ensuring that the teams and the collaboration are there, because otherwise it will be a little bit chaotic, if we leave it to AI to make all the decisions for us right now.
Oh, you're right. The main point, you're right about talking about ethics, because I don't know how it will manage the AI, all that, but at least if we leave it to humans right now, can happen. But the future, you're right. Ethics is a big point on the
At
leadership.
least, yeah, we hope that the humans will make the right decisions.
Right, or smartest one, not sure,
Smart, yeah.
but
Okay. So I think by all of these uncertainties in how the future will look like with the AI or the new trends of the digital transformation, but even based on your experience or based on the implementation of digital transformation, how do you see or how do you find the long-term return and value that organizations or businesses got from your experience? New companies can get from just implementing this type of digital transformation, regardless its complexity. It could be very simple, could be very complex, but the return or a
Like
long
a
run.
very simple thing where when we implemented the chatbot, like I said, and on the e-commerce platform, just the fact that you know I don't have the exact number, but I would say 75% of the questions were answered by the bot. You know, it
Yeah,
saved time for a person sitting behind the screen or on the phone answering the same question that the bot, was able to provide to the client. So
Mhm.
this is time saved that that person can use to achieve other tasks. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So that's a very simple thing. If you take more complex, more complex situations, when you apply AI, for example, in banking industry, catching the fraud, catching transactions, suspicious transactions, that saves millions of dollars to the banks.
Yeah.
With Netflix reached the level that they are, with the recommendations and everything through
Prediction. Yeah.
algorithms exactly that predicted the viewing habits and what my interest is. And so is Spotify, so are other companies as well. So now I turn on my Spotify and I see that music that interests me. Amazon will start predicting the products for you based on your previous purchases or based on things that you browsed. So going from the very simple to the more complex, it helps. And it's, I mean, when Spotify recommends certain types, or YouTube recommends certain videos for you in your feed, does this mean that you're missing out on other things? Absolutely. But maybe there was a way of saying, I've started seeing it lately in YouTube where it says, look at other recommendations. Maybe it would be a good idea to say, okay, fine, you know what? Forget about my previous, recommend something new, or let me start from a new slate. So
But that's where it's us as humans also to be curious on having this overview and also putting like data, other data inside these platforms to give them good recommendations. Like I was saying that to my daughter, like, oh, look, you're watching all these kind of shorts on on YouTube and all. I said, what do you like? I said, oh, I like horse riding. I said, did you put on YouTube like to watch horse riding, these kind of things? And I said, oh no, I'll try. And now just by putting the word and watching one video, the new shorts, it's changing the algorithm. So it's just to explain as you were changing the chains. Okay, put some other steps you have in mind in these kind of platforms, and they will recommend and push your thoughts also to look at other steps. Or she's interested in marketing. She was telling me so. Trying to look one or two video of marketing, and the YouTube will propose you more and
smart,
more.
yeah.
Uh, she was the one that we had to go on Twitch. No, Mohammed told me. And she said so, but these kind of examples, I think it's just not to open the mind, and we know how this algorithm works. And then if I want to go and push on some topics, just put the topic on the platform and you will
Exactly.
look, you got interested in it, and it will push it. That's all.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's one of the benefits of the social media. Some people are affecting or seeing it in a negative way, that these kind of platforms or devices are tracking us. But I see it's very beneficial, honestly. That saves you time for looking at or searching for something. Just search with in Google search or on any kind of social media channel. All the videos, all the advertising start to promote for this type of content.
Yeah.
That's magic. That's saving time. Interesting. Yeah,
It's true.
it was a great discussion with you, Bishoy.
Thank you.
I've learned a
Same here.
lot, honestly, from a lot of things you've shared, and I think we might repeat this kind of discussion, especially in the digital transformation. This is a very crucial
Sure.
point for
It was-
businesses, I see. Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you for
My
our, or
pleasure.
thanks.
Thank you. It was a great time. Thanks for your great insight
Thank
and
you.
examples. I really like all the examples, like real life examples you were using. So thanks a lot, and
Thank
for
you
the
for
audience.
having me. Thank you.
And thank you, everybody, for
Thank
the
you.
people who are watching us on our channels. See you in the next episodes. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.